Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you each and every time by OURA. It's the company behind the smart ring that delivers personalized sleep and overall health insights that help you get into each day feeling rested and ready, and also helps you know why you feel how you feel. Advanced body temp sensors, a bunch of other metrics, heart rate variability, heart rate itself, activity, sleep monitoring, all the different cycles of sleep. Head on over to auraring.com. If you're watching the show, check out the flow code. Makes it real easy. We got a special guest today. We talk about Stage 19. You've heard him for the last almost 3 weeks from, George is a diva, likes to jet around and hang with fancy people in fancy places, but Alain might even be even right there, right? So he recorded that from Corsica. We brought our friend Alain Azizi into the studio today to give us a live reading of where we started and where we finished.
Yeah. So today's stage was...
This is when you tell us where we started and finished.
From Mourant to Libourne.
Mourant? Actually, do it again and I'll do the birds so that people don't get
the same
confused.
without the birds.
Mourant to Libourne. Via Cadillac, by the way. Cadillac.
Oh, thank you. By the way, Alain, you almost killed me yesterday on the bike path.
I know.
I was riding around and this guy did a U-turn in front of me. I said, what is this idiot doing? And I was like, okay, he's going to go down the path. As soon as I got behind you did another U-turn right in front of me.
I was practicing my number 8.
Oh.
You are quite aggressive on the bike paths, though. Go rolling through those tunnels. All he does is the whistle. Like, people are supposed to know what's coming through that blind turn underneath the tunnel. Every time we go through this, I'm like, oh, this could be really bad.
Yeah.
There's a speed limit on those bike paths.
Yep.
That's what I heard.
There's a lot of e-bikes on that bike path, too.
This is why I get aggressive, because these people are riding these Category 3 e-bikes where you don't have to pedal. Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. Pedal assist, e-bikes, I'm cool. If you don't have to pedal and you just got to twist the throttle, well, then get on the road.
Yeah.
They're flying.
Yeah.
So how many years in a row have you done this, the voiceover force?
3-4 years.
3-4 years. Do you make good money doing it?
Big money.
Yeah, it started the first year of the podcast, which was,
2017 was the first year.
Yeah, was it the first year or second year?
It's when I heard Lance say a stage, and I felt like it was a town in Central Africa or somewhere. I said, no, this is not how you...
We got to help this guy. Yeah. Today's show also brought to you by Hyper Ice. This is a brand I've been a huge personal fan of for a long time and a consumer. Cool story. They've got 14 of the 23 teams in the tour actively using all of their devices, the percussion devices, but also the Normatecs. And it was fun. I was digging through my garage the other week and I found my original Normatecs. I've been using these for 11 or 12 years now. So we're gonna post a picture of the original OG Normatec is still in the garage and still works, by the way. So now a part of this great brand, Hyper Ice. And then this is the new Hypervolt Go, which I can hardly ever use anymore because George just constantly steals it. Recovery, truly essential in this game. These guys massively improved that, not just for us, but for, as I stated, all the teams that are 14 of the 23 teams in the tour. Hypervolt and the Normatec are both on sale right now for a limited time, exclusive for our listeners. Save 15% at hyperice.com. There's our flow code, and then the discount code is Lance15. Today's show also brought to you by the Wahoo Element Rival. We get a lot of questions about not George's blingy watch, but I actually get a lot of questions about the watches that I wear. The Element experience is really for when I go out and hike or run or do stuff off the bike. This is my go-to. It's simple to see, simple to track, actively active, planned workouts involved, totally clear, smart notifications, and for you Zwift fans sitting at home on the kicker, you can control the whole game from the watch. Pretty insane.
That is.
Head on over to wahoofitness.com. There's flow code. And check it out. All right, we're talking about Alain. Are you just going to sit there the whole time, or there was in the pre-production part? We were like, you say your thing, and we'll tell some stories, and then you.
See you later.
I mean, I don't give a shit if you sit there, to be honest. But
no, I need to go. I need to go make the donuts.
That's
donuts.
Good. Bring us some donuts.
I know, maybe later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go make them first.
Okay, good.
All right. Thank you, Alain.
Thanks, dude.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
All the best.
Well, Fast and Furious, stage 19, 47.9 kilometers an hour right out of the gate. I was wrong about this one. An exceptional performance by yet another team that's already won multiple stages. That theme and that storyline hasn't changed. But Mohorič was excellent. And I think it's interesting to talk about because these large groups go away. If you're a solo rider there and just a solo flyer, it's actually a lot easier. I mean, if you like Trek, for example, had 3 riders in there. They have to be sitting there shaking their heads, but it's easy to be that guy that sneaks away and they all look at each other and, you know, and on the heels of what happened, and we talked about this yesterday, on the raid of their hotel room, confiscation of all their hotels, their hotels, yeah,
Phones, computers, everything.
All devices, and you saw Mohorič at the finish line, given the given the zipped lips.
He was real firm in his interview that he was not happy. He felt like he was kind of sort of violated. They were going through pictures of his, the pictures in his phone, and he said he's got nothing to hide, and it was kind of cool how he just proved it by going out and winning the stage and said, "Hey, you got my phone, you got everything. Look as much as you want. You're not going to find anything."
Yeah, and you were touching on this earlier, George, how the break initiated, right?
Yeah,
which was a little bit surprising to you.
Yeah, there was 6 guys away early on. They had 3 minutes, and then when I woke up, the breakaway was established. Like I said, 3 minutes. Alpecin was chasing, so I thought this is going to be kind of a boring stage if they control it. But clearly, the directors behind the peloton were not happy with the situation and made for some seriously hard racing after the bonus sprint. I'm sure they all kind of decided they're going to go for the sprint because there's still a bunch of points on the line, and then we're going to keep going. And we saw a group right away of 20 guys behind the 6 go. Had 30 seconds on the peloton. Strangely, oddly enough, Israeli Cycling Academy and Ineos were at the front racing, everybody was scratching their heads and wondering why, but it was clearly the directors not happy with the situation. They wanted some representation in the breakaway, and those guys were chasing, some of the strongest guys in the world, chasing at 30 seconds for 20 kilometers, and they could not close the gap.
Mm. Well, then, I mean, you have to have, obviously, if you have 20 strong guys in the front, you have to have organization up there. They all just look at each other and say, "Let's roll." We can't.
Exactly, and it's something like that with 4, 5, 6 guys chasing in the back there and 20 guys ahead of them chasing 3 weeks into the Tour de France. It's going to be a hard task to bring them back.
And you even had Chris Froome pulling through.
Yeah, Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, then it's.
I don't think we've ever seen that. 2 former Tour de France winners chasing down a breakaway on a flat stage, towards the end of the race, all in for chasing down a breakaway. I don't remember ever seeing that.
Well, it reminded me a lot of the stage that I won in 1995 into Limoges, the same year that where Fabio Casartelli passed. Almost identical in terms of size of that breakaway group, the stage of the race. So I think it was right here at the end. And I was the only guy in there, and there were, and Johan Bernil actually was in that breakaway as well. There were other teams that had multiple riders, and you can if you just catch it right and you go, they look around and they say, "Wait, what just happened?" And as soon as you go, they just can't get together.
Well, no one wants to take up that chase with someone on their wheel, right?
No,
launch them.
And once I got 30 seconds, I knew it was over. I knew that. I was super motivated to ride in Casartelli's honor and try to win the stage. But I'll never forget Henny Kuiper was our director at the time, and I wasn't riding with a radio, so he kept coming up and telling me, this is in the old days, the car would come up and tell you your gap.
On a chalkboard, too, on a moto?
Well, they still do that, I think. But he kept coming up, and finally looked at him, I said, "Don't come up here anymore." And he was like, "What?" I said, "They're not catching me."
How far to go did you attack?
It was long.
It was long?
Yeah, it was, I should know these things, but it felt like forever, but it's probably 30K.
Yeah, I mean, well, today clearly Mohorič had the legs. I mean, it wasn't like he was an unmarked rider, but a lot of different things go on in a breakaway like that with so many guys. Like you said, a lot of it's luck. Who makes the first move today? That wasn't the case. What's the guy from Trek? I'm sorry, I'm going one Milan San Remo. I'm drawing a blank here.
Jesper Stuyven.
Stuyven was super strong. I mean, he was as strong as Mohorič, trying to get away as much as possible. And Mohorič just had the legs. I mean, when you go with over 40K to go and keep a 30-second gap against 3 or 4 or 6 guys chasing you that hard, that means you have a lot of power left in the legs.
But George, why doesn't it, who was, because Trek had, or Tunes was in there for them, who's everybody widely considered to be the fastest guy in the group. Like what, if I'm Trek and I say to Stuyven and Bernard, you guys have to, like 2 guys pulling through, letting him sit on the wheel, you would think they could
chase him down.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I mean, guys are at different, energy levels at this point in the tour. Perhaps they just didn't have it to work together, although they looked strong. But I agree, they should have gone all in for the stage. The pressure was a bit off of them because they've already won a stage. I feel like the pressure was on, a lot of these other teams, these French teams. But what happens also in these breakaways is the French guys will mark the French guys because, like, okay, this is the best of 2 evils, not the least worst of 2 evils that a non-French rider will win. So a lot of times they'll just mark the French guys, and it'll mess up a lot of the tactics in the breakaway.
Usually when there's attacks like Mohorič did, is it often because they're like, okay, someone's in this group that I cannot out sprint, so I have to go.
Well, he knew he had to go. Yeah, of course. But it's just a question of timing and just catching that moment where you get a little gap.
There.
You look back, you see them sort of looking at each other, and that's the moment where you say, okay, this is it. Or this is do or die right now. I got to go. And that's what he did.
And you know what? Some good legs and a little bit of anger go a long way this far into the Tour de France. And he had a big point to prove today. And what an incredible ride he did.
Tell me about that.
I saw in the post interview, he was like, I don't care if they go through my stuff. Yeah. Talking about the raid.
I don't like it, but I got nothing to hide.
Go through my stuff.
Yeah. I got a problem with that.
Hey, is it my imagination, or do those sort of surprise breakaways like we saw today happen more in the Giro and the Vuelta than in the Tour?
That's a great question.
It seems to me like there's more surprise winners, unexpected winners in Giro.
Not less incentive, but the Tour, we've talked about this in the past, everything's amplified. So the pressure to win a stage, we're still with this theme of only 8 teams having won a stage. I do think that stays the case until Paris. Although later in the show, we saw an episode with Mark Cavendish. For as chill as you want to be in the interviews and as chill as you want to act in the peloton, the pressure is there, and we'll show this in a little bit. And then now you have these teams trying to figure out if they can win the time trial tomorrow. But anyways, a lot of pressure at the Tour. Yeah, I think that's the takeaway. And the upside is infinitely more, right? Today's show also, and we have a special unboxing. Today's show also brought to you by Roka. Check this out, George. All right, so this is a new aviator they just sent me. This is just, I put them on earlier and I looked at myself. I was like, damn.
I said, self, damn, I look good.
I said to myself, self, you're catching George. Rob and his whole crew down there in Austin, amazing athletes, creating products, especially for great athletes and people that love to push themselves. Not just, the performance shades, which we talk about a lot and you see in the peloton, but the prescription shades. And then, you drop in the titanium aviator. Look at me. Do you see this?
The only problem with the mirrored aviators, people can see that you've got golf on your iPad right now.
Yeah, hang on. Actually, that would be a good effect. Let's pull up Peacock because it's a great point. This shit's really actually pretty boring today. But if you go, this is what I do. So I have the tee. I let George watch the bike race. Let's see what's happening. Can you see? Oh yes, you see. Who do we have here? All right, got Big John Rahm. No, in all seriousness, so proud of what that team built down there in Austin. Unbelievably lightweight, incredible fit. The lenses are the best. Head on over to Roka, ROKA.com, and enter the MOVE at checkout for 20% off. Also today brought to you by Element. We had a special guest on the other day, co-founder Rob Wolf of Element. I was surprised. We got so much feedback on that interview with him. It was fascinating for us.
Yeah, it was definitely fascinating.
But people that hung around the show, I think they left really learning something about hydration and all these other sort of health effects. I mean, I'm a big believer in hydration. I know that it affects, obviously, performance and clarity and recovery. But boy, we were going deep with Rob Wolf the other day. This is my go-to hydration source: 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, bunch of new flavors: watermelon salt, grapefruit salt. And for our listeners only, you get a free sample pack just for the price of shipping. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/themove and get that recharge sample pack for just the cost of shipping. There's a flow code. And yes, I'm going to leave these glasses on for a little bit longer because I catch myself in the screen. I'm like, all right, dude, leave them on.
We, like I mentioned earlier, we were discussing how strange it was to see Israeli Cycling Academy and Ineos chasing on the front, but it was also even stranger and kind of a shock for me was that we had 3 Movistar guys in the initial breakaway of 20, and all of a sudden they either got dropped or they sat up, and they're coming away with nothing too. We were talking about it in our pre-production show how we still have 15 teams with no stage wins, and a lot of the big budget teams that are expected to win these at least one stage in the Tour de France are going to come away with nothing.
And we're talking about the likes of Movistar, right? Big, not just big budget, but been around a long time.
Who usually wins the team category at least.
And look at the legacy there with Indurain. I mean, this is a team that won the Tour for forever, and then won Team GC almost every year. Certainly never left without winning a stage. Going to go home empty-handed. Ineos. $50 million budget. They got $14 million in salaries just in this tour alone. Education first. Not a huge budget team, but expected to win a stage. Astana, which came into this tour with a bit of a shakeup. Alexander Vinokurov was asked to leave the team, and our old teammate Steve Bowers seems to be running the team now. They're going to leave with Squaduch. Bike Exchange. I put Bike Exchange down because obviously, Yates left the race with the crash and the injury, but some of these stages you look are perfect for Michael Matthews. They had to think they at least get a stage win. And then Lotto, a team that often, grabs some of these breakaway victories, losing their co-sponsor to their fellow Belgian team, Quick-Step.
Yeah, that's not pretty. And your favorite director in the peloton's coming away so far empty-handed, perhaps not after tomorrow, but...
Mark Matteo.
Yep.
He hasn't fired himself yet?
No, he's still there.
Huh. Oh.
Something George pointed out that it's odd is for a couple people that abandoned, didn't start today.
Yeah.
And when there's a couple days left.
Yeah, Michael Woods and Superman Lopez pulled out today to get ready for the Olympics, which to me, okay, you got one long day left, time trial, which you can pretty much take it easy, and then Paris, which we all know is a parade until the final. I mean, it's still, no matter where you are in the peloton or how you're feeling, it's still a nice feeling to come into Paris.
To finish the tour.
And 2 more days of racing is not really going to affect your Olympic performance, not that I'm aware of at least. You got to finish the race.
I agree with you there. I mean, you have 2 out of, as you said, 2 out of the 3 days where, I mean, the time trial, you could just...
Yeah, and at this point in the tour, I mean, Mike Woods has been fairly aggressive, getting in a lot of breakaways. Sure, he's not going to win the stage coming into Paris, but... It's still a special feeling coming into Paris.
Yeah. I strongly agree with you there.
And you throw on top of it all the emotion in the first week that they endured.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a grueling tour.
When they did interview Ballerini at the finish line, who was the only Quick-Step rider in the break, and they said he said in his interview that they had no intention of trying to control the race for that long, this late in the tour, a big breakaway. Man, I just felt like today was the day that Cav had to get that record-breaking victory because it's going to be intense.
It's going to be really intense.
It's going to be. Look, we're sitting here. All we do is sit around and wear our pajamas and watch the bike race. So it'd be great for us, but for them, man. And we see and I think Cav has done a great job in his interviews. He's really tried to dismiss this pursuit of this record but we saw a clip that shows this is getting to him.
Yeah.
Something wrong with the steer tube there. They're steering. Uh-oh. Look at this. Ooh.
So those who are listening to just the audio podcast, he was getting on his bike outside the bus. Something was loose, probably in the headset, and he started slamming it down and handed it to his mechanic.
And then the hand gesture as walking off. I mean,
not happy.
Not happy.
Happy.
And I mean, these are, look, everybody's tired, not just the riders. These mechanics, they stay up. They'll stay up as long as they have to stay up, And so That's his guy right there. That's his mechanic. And believe me, there is a lot of pressure on him.
There's a ton of pressure on him, and no doubt that's not Mark Cavendish. Although he is super, super meticulous about his bike position, his cleat position, everything has to be perfectly dialed. And I'm just guessing here, but I'm sure that something went wrong with his bike the day before. He asked mechanics to fix it. Went to sign in this morning, and he still had the same issue, and then kind of had a blown up. But I guarantee you, he went and apologized to the mechanic either right before the start of the race or after the race.
He had a smile on his face when he crossed the finish line. Came across with Alaphilippe and seemed in good spirits. But he's going to have a chill day tomorrow. But man, tomorrow night, oof.
I'm sure everybody on the entire crew, all levels, just learn to not take it personally because emotions run high, and they're winning. If you're on one of these teams that you just rattled through that have zero results, I imagine there's some eruptions in their team bus.
Well, the thing about it is we live in 2021, and moments like that are captured. I thought it was important to show that moment, not to sort of point out his frustration, but just to really point out that this is pressure, and this is the most pressure he's probably ever felt in his entire career. But to your point, JB, of these other teams, like nobody's standing around filming them with their iPhone. But we capture those moments. And inside the team bus, I'm sure those, imagine their party in Paris is going to be like, wah, wah.
Yeah, that's not a fun way to end the Tour de France without a stage win.
No. We have another fun slide because we were talking about Pogačar yesterday and just our concern about how, and it goes deeper and deeper about just the French public and how they appreciate certain people and then don't appreciate others or are critical of others or question others. Somebody sent us a fun slide. This is I love you. I love you people. It's just amazing.
Hey, that was me last year.
This is amazing, the shit that comes in. Here you have Pogačar straight into the slide from Scarface. He says, "You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy." Is that an actual quote from Scarface?
Perhaps.
It's a great quote.
It is a good
Speaking
quote.
of fun slides, I got a little fun audio clip that came in. We're always thanking our awesome title sponsor, OURA Rings. We take our sleep very seriously, especially this far into the Tour de France. But my man next to me, you want to talk about taking sleep seriously? I got my partner in crime sent me this little clip.
Oh, why?
Wow.
Where was that? Dude.
I gotta stop it because it was too good. But thank you for sending that. We made the man blush, and I'm loving it. This will live on the internet for eternity.
First of all, the fact that she recorded that, okay, and I have a reason for why I was snoring like that, okay, and I'll tell you in a second. But the fact that she recorded, I was like, why do you do that? And then she actually sent it to me like, I'm going downstairs I can't sleep up here. I woke up and I was like, what? All right, whatever. And then I see an audio clip and I'm like, I'm not even opening that. I know. She comes down, she shares it with the whole team. I'm like, okay, that's strike two. But then to send it to you and say, please put it on the show, that's just
well, actually, she didn't say that. I begged her to send it to me. It was the other way around because it was too good. And
But she is going to be so happy that you played that. I mean, you're just shaming a guy for sleeping like a mofo. So here's the reason. So we've got this amazing dog, this little Cavapuchon, and he's about 2 years old. He's the cutest little thing. And every night when he sits in his chair, and then he sleeps in the bed with us. So he jumps up into bed. As soon as he sees me get in bed, he jumps up there. And he just like gets right up on my legs, like on my junk, and when I'm on my back. And I never have the heart, because I don't like to sleep on my back, so I never have the heart to move him. So she must have walked in when I was trying to comfort the dog. And when you're on your back, you tend to snore more. But this is a low blow. You know what? I am glad we're almost done with the Tour de France.
Hey, you have 2 more days of show to retaliate.
You know what I'm going to do? Tonight, she can sleep downstairs again. I am locking the door. Of course, she could probably record that. From
Toby, what about Toby? Toby can sleep in the bed? Or?
Toby's gonna be with Dad.
All right.
Man. God, yeah, that did. I was starting to sweat a little. That's embarrassing. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
So back to the time trial. Tomorrow is the time trial, last final time trial at Tour de France. We all know that the final time trial of the Tour de France is completely different than a single day time trial or the first time trial of Tour de France. So I think we'll see a lot of stuff happening, but the clear favorite is definitely going to be Pogačar.
Well, you have the top 10. Let's just do rough numbers. You have 10 guys who are in the top 10 in GC they have to go as hard as they can. And then we're going to have these opportunists, right? Stefan Kung, Wout van Aert. They smell a stage win.
Absolutely. Stefan Kung being on Française des Jeux, who are coming away right now empty-handed without a Tour de France stage win, and he's a really good time trialist. Starting early in the day, which apparently the wind is going to pick up in the afternoon, so he's got an advantage there and a ton of motivation. The team's going to be all behind him for him to get the stage win.
I want to break down the TT a little more. Before we do that, today's show also brought to you by Athletic Greens. This is new to George and I's world. We've gotten religious about taking our Athletic Greens every morning, because what I'm not religious about is eating vegetables. Like, you're supposed to count up all the colors you eat in a day. I think that may be the reason I snore like that. Maybe if I dialed it up on the diet side, but I don't have to.
We'll do a test in a couple weeks.
So Athletic, amazing. The most comprehensive daily nutritional beverage out there on the market, supported by a bunch of really smart guys: Tim Ferriss, Peter Attia, Joe Rogan. 75 absorbable vitamins, minerals, probiotics, superfoods, all in one product. And here's the kicker. They've reinvented the product 52 times because they constantly try to improve it. For our listeners, head on over to athleticgreens.com/themove. When you sign up now, you get a year's supply of vitamin D, which I'm low on. That also might be the reason I snore so much. And 5 free travel packs. That's athleticgreens.com/themove. And stop snoring. But I'm still going with Wout van Aert tomorrow. He still looks like he has a lot of horsepower.
Well, if you look back at the early time trial from this year's tour, Pogačar put 19 seconds on Stefan Kung and 27 seconds on Vingegaard, 30 seconds on Wout van Aert. And then you also reflect on last year, where he just destroyed the last time trial.
Very different. Very different.
It's very different.
That was a hilly time trial.
And think about it, have we even heard the name Stefan Kung mentioned last week?
No.
So I'm thinking the team is like, you take it as easy as possible over the Pyrenees, because the guy's got a lot of power. He can definitely make these breakaways. I'm sure that Matteo was saying, I don't want to even see you touch the wind, and you're going all in for this time trial. So I'd say he's got a really good shot for tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. And imagine if he's up there. Well, that's the problem with him going so early. That's always the problem with starting early, is you have nothing to compare yourself to. Whereas if you start later, you've seen almost everybody's times. You're getting the time splits. He's going to have to ride an individual race. You got to go out and ride a smart, calculated, hard
That's true.
race.
But on the positive note, he's going to have a bunch of guys ahead of him that probably don't care at all about the time trial. So he's probably going to he can catch up to, 5, 6, 7 guys, which is also very motivating and keeps you, hyper focused as you're passing these guys. So I think that's also an advantage.
And you get help along the way.
Yep.
If their car pulls over, you don't get any love. But if the car is still with them, these guys slingshot off every car, every rider. I mean, it sounds small, but if you're catching 5 to 7 guys, it adds up.
Yep, absolutely.
You got to go full beast mode.
And how technical is the course? And it looks like good weather. It's going to be like 85 and sunny.
George has some scoop on that.
Well, the course is pretty straightforward. Our man on the road just texted me. He is thinking, like I mentioned, the wind is going to pick up in the afternoon, so the big advantage for a guy like Stefan Kung. Just a couple technical corners, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Fast course, so we'll see 50 plus kilometers an hour average.
So at least, they don't start till Jesus. Whatever. I'm going to go back to snoring. I'm still so embarrassed by that.
Well, and it'll also be interesting, sorry to interrupt, how motivated will Pogačar be to win the stage? I mean, perhaps he'll just be like, hey, I got 5 minutes. might just cruise this in. Who knows?
It's just not. He's not wired that way.
I don't think he is either. But you never know.
He's an animal.
No. Not even. You can't do that in the yellow jersey ever. Nobody ever should. And
just waving to the crowd.
Just
a
like
little parade.
Just you and George Bush.
Actually, 2005, you had, I believe, 7 minutes on the GC, and I think you won the final TT.
Of course.
Yep. Okay.
The yellow jersey has a responsibility to represent.
Yeah.
Now, and I do think
that was a hard course.
Not to mention people wait all day to see it.
Yeah. This is the difference between what he did yesterday and a time trial. Like that display yesterday, which internally, just sort of selfishly, I like, but being concerned about the way people view him, I would advise him not to. The time trial is full green light. Like nobody's going to say, "Oh, you should have pedaled easy in the time trial."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, you have the.
You shouldn't have chased. There's none of that.
Yeah, none of that. It's race against the clock. Yeah.
Got some questions, comments?
I do, yeah. I know there was not a very eventful day, but we do have some good questions. This is random. I'm not 100% sure this is accurate, but let's try it. My question is for Lance. In mountain stages, you seem to be the only rider who rode with one gear shifter on your handlebar for the gears in the back. The big ring shifter was old school style on your down tube. Why was that? Was it for weight loss or so? Why didn't anybody else do this? That's from Joris in the Netherlands.
Well, we were weight weenies, as they call them, and at that point in time, the bikes were still. I mean, these bikes now are 14 pounds that they're racing on. These are bikes. I mean, I tell people all the time, like my hardtail mountain bike today is lighter than my road bike that I won the 1999 Tour de France on. So the weights were coming down, but we were not anywhere near the minimum. So we were trying to shave as much weight as possible. And when you're in the mountains, you don't need the big ring. You don't need the shift between the big and the small ring very often. So we went old school, like that down tube shifter. And
yeah, nowadays it's the opposite. The bikes are so light that they're going underneath. They got to add weight to them.
And this is why, obviously, for us, we never raced with power meters because they were heavy at the time. The bikes were still heavy. And now the bikes are so light, they're putting, just like disc brakes come back in, power meters, all these things that, there were years towards the end of my career where people had to actually add weight to the top tube because they come around and test the bikes, weigh the bikes.
Here's just a comment. Please say hi to Lance for me. I was a big Jan Ullrich fan and got emotionally traumatized by Lance year after year. I love that Lance reached out to Jan and visited him when he was in rehab 1 or 2 years ago, and it made me very, very happy to hear Lance say that Jan is doing really well at the moment. So thanks, Lance. You can't hide that you have a good heart, even if you're trying hard. You can't hide it. Maybe George's gentle soul is also rubbing off on you after all those years. Greetings from Munich, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. And those long walks in the morning, barefoot in the grass, just grounding myself.
We need a video of that.
That should be a reality show. You go into all these Zen Buddhist type get-togethers.
I want to do one of those silence retreats with Buddhists where you just sit around. Can you imagine a week? Dude, I would never be the same. I'd come on here, never say bad words, not argue with anybody, not take a position. I'd just be like, it's okay. No, but Jan is the man. Okay, I love him like a brother. And George and I are headed to Europe in September. I plan on making a swing by and having a pedal with my old buddy. And he's doing great. So
good.
Let's keep it going.
This question was actually sent in for Johan. I thought it'd be better to have you guys talk about it. And he says, the other day, Johan mentioned that he has sent riders home for not following the strategy discussed in the team meeting. And that made me wonder, who determines the strategy for a stage? Is it solely the directors, or do the riders also participate in the strategy decisions? Also, has Johan ever proposed a strategy that was strongly objected by some or all of his riders? Thanks for the great podcast, Scott.
It'd be a good question to ask him, and we'll answer it too. But I don't remember any sort of disagreement or dissension amongst the riders. I mean, there might be days where you're like, "Ooh, that sounds hard," or "That sounds a little crazy," but nobody stood up and said, "No, we're not doing that." And I think too, and I want George to chime in, but the tour, you're tired, and if you have a guy like Johan Brunel who's been right most of the time, like you don't have the mental energy to sit here and go, you know what, I'm going to argue about this. I'm gonna disagree. You just sit there and go, okay. Now, if you had a director who was just a buffoon, that might be different. That would be mentally just exhausting as well. But I don't think. Do you remember us? Well, I mean, aside from you getting mad the one time that we were making everybody heard, you guys are being mean.
Let's start.
Everybody's dropped, and we're all here.
I say we start a GoFundMe page to get this man to that Buddhist camp for about a week. Let's do it. We'll put it up today. But no, there's a point in your career as a rider where you reach a certain seniority amongst the team, and sure, the strategy's set in the morning in the bus or the night before, and that's what you go with. But things happen so quickly in a race, especially in a race like Tour de France, where the directors will rely a lot on those riders that have been around for a long time to make those quick second decisions, whether it's to chase a breakaway down or go after something that you weren't really supposed to, based on the actual real time events that are happening within the stage.
Now, you bring up a good point. Just to carry on, you can lay out the strategy in the team bus and have a plan. But like you're in this group, you find yourself in a group of 20 or 25 guys today, like Mohorič did and all these other guys. At that point, it's up to you. Like you gotta use your race nose and find that move, and then. But the director they cannot direct real time so much like that.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, that's where you got to pick guys and have guys in your team that when they do get in that group, you say, you know what, this guy has a nose for the finish line, which clearly Mohorič with a second stage win does. But two very different things.
Okay. Last question, and I think everybody knows how you guys are going to feel about this, so you can elaborate on it. But I used to love watching the team time trials. Do you guys know why it was discontinued, and what is the likelihood of it ever returning? Thanks for all you do. Doug in Sammamish, Washington.
Well, no doubt, team time trials are the most intense, nerve-wracking events, especially riding alongside this guy, because one little mistake at 35 miles an hour, you can take out the whole team. So those were some of the events. At that point in my career, I would rarely get nervous for a stage of the Tour de France. We've been there, done that, but team time trial, there's just so much on the line, and they're great. They're beautiful to watch, to see 9 or 8 guys now working in unison at those speeds is
and how much faster is that train moving than an individual on the same course?
A lot faster.
Yeah, a lot faster. Yeah. But it's just the strong guy isn't like he's sitting at the front the whole time. Just the whole team is very, very important. It's just, in my opinion, the most beautiful event to watch in pro cycling. And we'll see it come back. They haven't discontinued it. It was just for this year, and who knows, they might bring it back in next year.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys go down one year?
2000. Year 2000, yeah. I think I was in front of that one. It was in the rain. And you just crossed it. Christian crossed the wheel, and it was just full yard sale. Man, and here's the thing about the TTT is it's hard for everybody. I mean, obviously the weakest guy on the team, he is really nervous. George says he was nervous. He was one of the biggest engines we had in the TTT. But it is hard, even the strongest guy, because the strongest guy has to take the longest pulls, the weakest guy takes the shortest pulls, and you always have to get back on the back. That's that point where it's one thing to take a pull, but when you pull off and you're swinging back and you see 8 guys going by you full speed, and you're like, I got to get back on the back. Like it is my favorite event, actually. And I'm with is it Doug?
Doug, yeah.
Yeah. I think it should be an institution in the Tour de France, just like I think the prologue should be.
Yep. What about what's going on with the segment? We got some segment updates.
We have apparently some major. We do segment updates brought to you by Outside Plus. We have our man Lars Fenniger is on the scene. He says the environment is just crazy. There are people out there. He posted up a fun. Look at this.
Just that's look awesome. Those are my boys from Tennessee.
Yeah, look at George. Everybody taking Georgies. Everybody taking Georgies and more Georgies. Yeah, apparently they're just folks everywhere out there in the middle of nowhere.
That's cool.
Riding. Oh, this poor guy.
That's my buddy Brad Cobb laying out. I got to give him a hard time for that.
This is pretty much how I felt when I got done.
You better have beaten my time, Brad, for looking like that at the end.
Yeah. How about the leaderboard? Any updates there? Tiff? No updates. We're getting information that for the men's open, there's potentially a shakeup. Tomorrow is the last day. Reminder: tomorrow's the last day you can do it. But apparently, there's been some shakeup, and I still wonder about Nina Machino. How's she doing?
Well, we got a special slide here.
Oh boy!
Earlier on the tour, we got to see George as a teenager. Now, someone sent in. It was sent in. Mike sent it in. His brother Roy was classmates with George in fifth grade? Is that what this is? Fifth grade? Grade 5. 1983.
The name of your school was Our Lady of Perpetual Help?
OLPH, baby. It's coming at you.
What does that mean? Dude.
I'm actually not sure, but
that is I get
wow,
I get the whole first 3 words, but perpetual help? You're talking about I need to go to a Buddhist camp? You went to a school that said we need perpetual help. What is wrong? I went to like Webb Elementary and Armstrong Middle School and Dooley Elementary and perpetual help? God. I tell you what, there's 15 teams in this Tour de France that are going to need some perpetual help licking these wounds.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else, JB?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. George is making me ride the pass with his 13-year-old son who's going to kick my ass. I'm going to need some perpetual help going up that thing. God. And I got to hurry up and get back down because I got to go to work.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all tomorrow for the time trial.